Welcome to the first episode of the Delay of Game podcast. Today we'll be redrafting the 2000 NHL Entry Draft, which took place from June the 24th to the 25th in Calgary.
Yeah, so we both formed our own redraft list of the top 10. And I guess we'll just go by each pick and discuss who we selected in a redraft. So obviously the original first overall pick from the 2000 draft was Rick DiPietro, who was a goalie. But obviously he had a lot of injury issues, which I guess hampered his career, and he didn't get a lot of overall full season games in. But looking back at the draft, probably the best, most accomplished player was Henrik Lundqvist, who was picked sixth, seventh round by the Rangers. Really, really, really huge steal by the New York Rangers. And looking back, that would definitely be the best pick by the New York Islanders at first overall.
Yep, I have Henrik Lundqvist as my first overall as well. I think he was picked 205th overall by the New York Rangers in the 7th round or something. What a huge steal. That's crazy.
It's a shame that he doesn't have a cup, but
True, he doesn't have a cup yet.
I don't think he's to blame.
He won the Vezina in 2012, and he's been a finalist 4 times in his career.
And how ironic that it was the New York Rangers who selected him, and the Islanders had the first overall pick.
True. Could you imagine him doing getting the Vezina and then having this crazy save percentages as a New York Islander?
I know. I can't even picture him in an Isles jersey. It would just be so weird.
Yeah, it's super weird. But right now, if you look at the Islanders, they have they kind of been struggling with goalies recently, right?
Yeah, they never found a consistent number one goalie in the past, decades, 2 decades, 3.
Yeah.
And I think we can all agree that Henrik Lundqvist would have solidified that position for them for 2 decades.
Yeah, for sure. But instead they took Rick DiPietro.
Yeah, I guess hindsight.
Yeah, so I think we both agreed that the first overall pick in the redraft would definitely be Henrik Lundqvist. So I'm gonna move on to the second overall pick. I have Marian Gaborik as number 2. What about you?
Yeah, I also have Marian Gaborik at number 2.
Okay. Why do you have Marian Gaborik?
He played quite a long career. He had a couple of very productive seasons as a first liner with teams like Minnesota, New York Rangers. He could never find a consistent team to play on, but overall in his entire career, he had a very productive career as a scoring forward.
I agree. I think he's first in goals still, even though he retired 2 years ago. He has 407 goals, which is the most out of his draft class. And he also leads them in points with 815. And that's all in 1,035 games. So very productive and consistent.
So at number 3, I have Danny Healy.
Okay, I have Justin Williams at number 3.
Well, I have Danny Healy because, in my opinion, he had the better overall peak performance in his glory days. He had 2 100-plus seasons in the NHL and 2 50-goal seasons as an Ottawa Senator. Justin Williams, he did definitely have a longer career than Healy, but in my opinion, when you're picking the best player, you want the player with the best peak.
Right, but I feel like Justin Williams, his impact on whatever team he's on is much greater than Gaborik, just because one, he has a longer career, right? And he's known as Mr. Game 7 and having a huge impact in Game 7s. And he's also won 3 Stanley Cups and a Conn Smythe.
He definitely does have more personal achievements than Healy.
Yeah, that's why I have Williams at 3.
Healy, to me, though, how many 50-goal, 100-plus point players do you see in the NHL? Those are hard to come by. But he never, like Gaborik, he never found consistency on a particular team, as he traded just 3 seasons after he was drafted by the Atlanta Thrashers.
Yeah, I feel like Healy had a good couple years, but then he kind of just dropped off.
Exactly. And that's obviously why you could argue that Williams was the better selection. So anyways, at number 4, I have Justin Williams.
Okay, I have Danny Healy.
All right, so, similar to what you said, Williams, obviously, Mr. Game 7, he had so many personal, or I guess team accomplishments with, winning, what, 2 Stanley Cups?
I think it's three Stanley Cups.
3 with Carolina, right? Yeah, 3. Wow. And obviously he won a Conn Smythe. Like he was clutch.
Yeah, he's pretty clutch. Well, we just switched three and four.
Yeah, exactly. Anyways, number 5, I have Nicholas Kronwall.
Yep, I have Nick Ronald number 5.
Yeah, overall he was just a really good top 4 defenseman, reliable for the Detroit Red Wings for, I guess, quite a long time.
Yeah, a lot of years. He won a Stanley Cup in 2008, and I believe he is second in points from defensemen in the 2000 draft. So, like, pretty solid and consistent throughout his career with the Red Wings. And obviously, he's known for his massive hits, getting Cronwalled.
Yeah, he was just a very good all-around defenseman during his years with Detroit.
For sure. Okay. Number 6, I have Scott Hartnell.
Yeah, I have Scott Hartnell as well.
Okay. Well, my reasoning for Scott Hartnell, actually, he was picked number 6, like in the actual draft.
Yeah, it looks like Nashville got a good pick then.
Yeah, Nashville probably got the best player available at number 6 if we go by this redraft. He's, I don't know. I just feel like he had a pretty good career.
Yeah, like over
like
1,000 games.
Yeah, over
700 plus
1,000 games,
points.
700 points. Yeah.
He was a good physical player. He liked to get under players' skins. He was a good playoff guy.
Just I don't know, just a solid, consistent, productive forward. Did have a lot of penalty minutes. I think he led all players in his draft year.
Yeah. So I'd definitely say it was a pretty solid pick by the Nashville Predators at 6. All right, so number 7, I have defenseman Lubomir Wisnowski.
I also have defenseman Lubomir Wisnowski at number 7.
All right, what do you think? Why is he number 7?
He has the most points out of defensemen from his draft class. Even though he was drafted like when he was 23, 24, he still like was able to put up solid numbers, even though he was older than the rest of his draft class, and even though his career was kind of shorter than a lot of other players, but he was still able to put up the most points out of all of the other defensemen. Yeah, just solid.
Yeah, he was a good points getting defenseman for LA and I guess Islanders and the Ducks. And I mean, yeah, for a 4th-round pick, obviously he was a very big steal.
Yeah, he's got like way more goals than any other defenseman in his draft class. Number 8. Who do you have at number 8?
Number 8, we have Brooks Orpik.
Okay, I have Antoine Vermette at number 8. I think Antoine Vermette just like he's played like over 1,000 games, and just 5th in points from his draft class, and also being a Stanley Cup winner with the, I believe, Chicago. Yeah, so I just think like being a productive player and having quite a long career, I think over 1,000 games is pretty good. Just solid, consistent, point producing forward throughout his career.
He did definitely have a long career, but I chose Brooks Orpik because he also had a long career, but in my opinion, he was a more valuable player for the teams he played on, like Pittsburgh and Washington. He was mainly a top 4 defenseman, which are obviously very important in the NHL, and they're hard to get.
Yep.
And he also has won like 3 Stanley Cups. No, or actually no, 2. He won one with Pittsburgh and one with Washington. So he obviously has the achievements as well. And yeah, just had an overall very solid career.
True. Okay. Moving on to number 9. Who do you have at number 9?
Number 9, I have the legend Ilya Bryzgalov.
Okay, interesting. I have Brooks Orpik at number 9. So, yeah, I'll go first because it's basically just what you said before. Like solid top 4 defenseman. 2-time Stanley Cup winner, obviously, like you said. Over 1,000 games. And I believe he has like 3,000 something hits. So, like, way more hits than anyone else in his draft class. And just physical force on whatever team he played for. So yeah, I have Brooks Orpik at number 9.
All right, so for Ilya Bryzgalov, He played about 400 games, so pretty long career, um, for sure, for a second round pick. But overall, he did bounce around a few teams like Anaheim, Phoenix, Philadelphia, and he could never like solidify himself as a number one goalie for any of his teams that he played on. But he did have some good individual seasons with teams like the Coyotes. Um, but also like just some of his interviews and stuff, they're just quite legendary and quite memorable. It's pretty.
I agree. There's so many memes of him. Yeah, it's great. He's such a funny guy. I love it. Okay, so we're on to the last pick for this episode. Rounding out the top 10, who do you have?
At number 10, I have defenseman Ron Hainsey.
Okay. I also have a defenseman, but I have Paul Martin.
All right. Well, I'm going to go first. So Ron Hainsey is still even playing today, which is pretty impressive. He has over 1,100 games played, and he has over 300 points as a defenseman. And he's played on tons of teams like Montreal, Carolina, Columbus. He's been a good, steady defenseman for the teams he's played on. He's never been a flashy defenseman, but he's been just a good, reliable defenseman that I guess the team can rely upon overall. And yeah, just honestly a pretty solid defenseman throughout his career.
Yeah, I agree for the same reasons as Martin was also like a solid defenseman throughout his career, putting up just 320 points in 870 games. So 870 games is a pretty long career, and pretty solid point totals for a guy who was originally drafted like late second round, I think. Yeah, just overall, like he's a solid defenseman who um, played a big role on all the teams he was on, and I think out of all the players in his draft class, Paul Martin has the highest plus minus currently. But yeah, like I mean, plus minus isn't exactly the most indicative scoring statistic, but the fact that he's plus 126 throughout his 870 games is pretty impressive.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, overall at the number 10 spot, there's so many players you could argue. Like, obviously, I could have put Paul Martin there, Antoine Vermette for sure. Even a guy like Jarrett Stoll, he had a pretty solid career. It was a pretty okay draft. Not obviously not like as good as 2003.
Yeah, I think the first round was honestly kind of weak. Like, there's not that many like star players in the first round. I mean, like the first in the like the top like 5 of the original draft or top 10 of the original draft, there was like only a few guys who were ended up being like stars in the NHL, like consistent point producers.
Yeah, the biggest surprise for me was Rafi Torres at number 5.
Yeah, that's crazy, dude. Raffi Torres was a 5th overall pick.
He was a good fourth liner, maybe energy guy in his career. Obviously with Vancouver.
Yeah, I just remember him getting like constantly suspended for doing like dumb shit.
I don't know how he got drafted 5th, but maybe he had some good junior numbers.
Yeah, holy crap, he put up 91 points one season in the OHL.
Yeah, I mean that just shows that junior numbers don't always translate to the NHL level.
True, true. 5th overall, Raffi Torres. Wow.
And also there were guys like Lars Johnson, Brent Cran. Like there's a lot of names on here that you probably wouldn't recognize in the top 10. Definitely some busts overall.
Yes, I think the biggest deal obviously is Henrik Lundqvist at 205th overall.
For sure. I mean, it just looks, for Islanders fans, like he was right there. But I guess that's our top 10.
Yep, that is our top 10 for the 2000 NHL entry redraft. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Delay of Game podcast, and we will see you next time.